everyone. Just enjoying my little Gibson here and thinking about what I'd like to share with you today. Have you ever been playing along and you were trying to figure out exactly what minor chords you need to put with that chord progression that you're playing? And I don't know if it's ever happened to you. I mean, I think most of us know when you're playing in G that, you know, the 1, 4, 5, do you know what I mean by the 1, 4, 5? Let's say G is your root note. We'll call that number 1, right? Well, the 4 would be G, A, B, C. So the 4 is C. And then the 5 would be D. So the 1, 4, 5, or the chord progression that goes together with G really well is the G, C, and the D, right? So we see that a lot. And of course, most of us probably know by heart that the minor chord that goes with that is the E minor, right? It just goes really good with it. But let's say you're playing and somebody raises the key up to A, and you just can't remember exactly from this G to this A, you know, what are the chord progressions, where's the 1, 4, 5, and most of all, where's that minor chord? Well, I'm going to show you how you can figure it out really quick by using patterns, by just seeing the pattern in how the fingerboard is set up. And I suppose you could call out the circle of fifths, but most of us don't carry that chart around. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And there's a thought process behind it in terms of how notes are divided. And the circle of fifths and the circle of fourths, which is the opposite side. I'm not going to get into that. I just want to show you patterns that if you remember these patterns, you can find just about anything, and you'll always be able to find your minor chord, okay? So I mean, I say that, can find just about anything. I'm just talking about using major chords now. I'm not talking about going off into, some of the, more, maybe just a little more complex chording. Although this might help there as well. But let me explain to you what I mean by these patterns, okay? And so if you're kind of, early in your playing, hopefully by now you've learned a few bar chords, because you have to have that to actually do this little exercise that I'm going to show you. But if you don't know bar chords, watch it anyways, because just the knowledge of this pattern will help you find your minor chords, and actually it would help you play all over the fingerboard and to change key rapidly without having to think about it. So let's get into it, okay? So there's certain things that you have to remember as we move through this little exercise, okay? One thing is that when we go up the scale, your B to C is always 1 fret. And your E to F is always 1 fret. And I know I've said that a million times, but the B to C, E to F, you got to remember that. So I'm going to make that number 1. Everything else is 2 frets, okay? So A to B is 2 frets, but B to C is 1 fret. C to D is 2 frets. D to E is 2 frets. And then E to F, there you go, there's 1 fret again. So you have to kind of keep that in your mind or you'll get lost in this, okay? So B to C, E to F, remember that. Those are the 1 fretters, okay? All right. So that's one thing I want you to remember. The next thing I want you to remember is this. If you're playing your bar chord with E shapes, then your minor chord will always be the shape of this E minor, okay? Your minor chord's always going to be that shape, okay? So your bar chords with E shapes will always use E minor shapes. And it'll make sense as we move along. And your bar chords with A shapes will always use A minor shapes. Okay? So if you're using a bar chord that's got an E shape, and this is what I mean by it, here's the E shape, right? You bar it and put your E shape down. If you're doing a bar chord like that, no matter where you are on the fingerboard, when you go to find your minor chord that you're going to use with your, let's say 1-4-5 progression, we'll use that as an example. It'll always be an E minor shape if you're using the E shape for your bar chord. And if you're using the A shape for your bar chord, in this case is C, here we are at B. When you go to find your minor chord, when you're using these shapes, they'll always be the A minor shape. Okay? Now, I hope I didn't lose you, but it'll make sense as we move along. But just remember this much. The E shapes use the E minor shapes, and the A shapes use the A minor shapes. Okay? So if you can remember that, it'll make sense as we move along. So that's two things that I want you to remember. Okay? And I'll probably have more of these move along, but I think for right now, that's what's most important. And then also knowing, what does it mean when I say 1-4-5, okay? So let's move on. Okay, so let's say we're going to make an A chord, and we're going to bar that A chord. Well, first we have to find it, okay? So we know that this note right here, open, is an E, and then one step up is F, because E to F is one fret up. Then the next is G, right? And that's 2 frets up. And then 2 more frets up, because G to A would be 2 frets. There's A. So if the root note is on this E, you can bar it with an E shape. And that's an A chord, okay? And it works this way because think about it. Here's E, here's F, here's G, and here's A, okay? All right, so we found our A. Now we want to find the minor chord for this, okay? So here's where you're going to use the number 3, and I suppose that's the third thing that I should put on the list is number 3. You have to remember that, okay? All you have to do is count back from the fret that your bar finger is on. 1, 2, 3, and you're going to slide back and bar there and make your E minor shape. And there is your minor chord for your A, your root key, your root note, which is your key of A. Okay, so there it is right there. Oops. Well, let's try it again. Let's move up to B. Here's B, right? Because this is A. Move up 2 frets, and you get the B. Okay, count back 3. 1, 2, 3, and bar there and make your E minor shape. And there is your minor chord that goes along when you're in the key of B. Okay, so let's move up to C. Okay, B to C is one fret, right? E to F, B to C. So we're only going to move up 1 fret to get to C. We're going to still use that E shape. And we're in the E shape, so what does that mean? We have to get our minor, we go back 3, and we're going to bar the E minor shape. 1, 2, 3. Here it is. There it is. That's your minor chord for your C. Okay? All right. So now you get the idea. Let me show you the A shapes, and then we're going to move on a little bit further. Okay? So here's your A shape. In fact, that's your A chord, right? And so we're going to make, let's make it a D. Okay? Let's bar this. When you bar at the 5th fret, the A shape, you have a D chord. How do I know that? Well, here's A, and go up 2 frets, B, go up 2 more, B to C, 1 fret, there's C, and then go up 2 frets, there's D. Now to find the minor chord for this D shape, and we're using an A shape now. What did I say before? The A shape will always use an A minor shape. Count back 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to go all the way back here, and then you're going to make an A minor shape. right? And that is your minor chord for your, there it is right there. 1, 2, 3. All right. And so that's the A. If you go up to the, or that's the D. So if you go up to the C, to the E, right? Go back 3, 1, 2, 3. There it is right there. There is the minor chord for the E. And we know that's E because this is A. Go up to B, go up 1, B to C. There's C, go up 2, D, go up 2, E. There it is, E. Go back 3, 1, 2, 3, bar it, make the A minor shape because you're using the A shapes, and that is your minor chord when you're in the key of E and you're playing bar chords, okay? All right, so I think we got that part down, all right? So you'll always be able to find your minor chord for whatever chords whatever key you're in. This actually works if you're in, say, okay, so here's B, right here, right? Let's say they say, well, we're going to play in B flat, okay? There's B flat, and you'll notice I'm using the E shape. So what do we use? We use the E minor shape. Go back 3, 1, 2, 3. There it is, right there. That's the minor chord for the B flat. It was very easy to find. Just count back 3, and for the shape, when you're doing the bar chord for the E's, use the E minor shape. And when you are doing an A shape for your chording, you're going to go back 3 and use the A minor shape. Okay? All right. So now that's good. Now here's another pattern that I want you to remember. Let's use, we're going to use A, okay? Now we know that the 1, 4, 5 for A, if we count it out, will be A. So the 4 is going to be here, right? So A, B, C, D would be the 4, and E would be the 5. Okay, so 1, 4, 5 would be A, D, and E. A, D, and E. Okay, so here's the A. Now here's the pattern. To get to the 4, all you have to do is switch from this E shape over to the A shape. That's the 4. It's always the 4. If you're here in G, you go flip over. That's the 4. That's C. A. That's the 4. Move up 2 with that shape. That's the 5. Okay, so there's the A, there's the D, and there's the E. Okay, so then they say, well, let's move our music up a half a step. Use the same shape pattern. Okay, so back to A. So now what happens if we put our A minor chord in there? 1, 2, 3, go back 3, there it is right there. So here we go. Oops. So you get the idea? All right, so there it is right there. So that is one shape that works everywhere for the 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5. Of course, that song, Proud Mary, it actually goes to 5 to 4, not 4 to 5. But still, it's using the same chords and you just swoop it up. Okay. okay? But if you remember that for the 1, 4, 5, if you're here starting with your E shapes, just move over to the A shape and up. You're always in 1, 4, 5. And of course, moving back 3 frets, you'll find your minor chord, which is the 6, okay? All right, so there we go. So that works as well. There's another pattern with the A. So let's look at the A shape here, or excuse me, the D chord using the A shape, okay? So we know that's D because A to B, B to C, C to D. There it is, that's a D chord, okay. So D, and for D, we know the 1, 4, 5 is D, E, F, G, and A, G and A. Okay, so D, G, A is your 1, 4, 5. Okay, good. Well, there's a pattern to find that. So here's the D, here's the G. It's an E shape barred at the 3rd fret. There's the A right there, okay? So D, G, A. D, G, A. So when you need to find the minor chord for the A shape, what do? You go back 3. There it is right there, and you're going to make the E minor shape. Excuse me, the A minor shape. Okay, so let's try that. So here's your A. I'm going to go to the 4. Now let's go to the 5. One more time, let's do that again. Here's the D, D, G, and there's the A. Back to D. Okay, let's move it up. Let's move it up 1/2 step. So we're going to go from this D to D sharp or E flat. Whoops, I almost messed up. Do you see the pattern? Look for that pattern. There's the 1. There's the 4. There's the 5. Now let's throw that minor chord in. Reminds me of this song here. If you're not in church, you probably don't know this one that goes, every praise is to our God, every word of worship in one accord. And let's bring it up. Every praise is to our God, every word of worship in one accord. Using patterns. So when you're using the A shape, it's always move up here, move back 2 frets, and play the E shape, move up 2 frets, play the E shape, and go back to the A shape. Okay? And then from the A shape, go back 3 frets, because you're making, your root is an A shape. You're going to use the A minor shape, 3 frets back to find your minor. All right. That's what I wanted to share with you. That took me a little bit. And you might be, just plain confused. On the other hand, you might grasp some of it. I hope so. But if you can see it, I'm telling you, it'll help you. It'll help you a whole lot. All right. Well, I'm going to leave it right there. And I hope you all have a great day or night wherever you are in this world.